called third strike. There is a new single-season strikeout.
What's going on, guys? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another Major League Baseball video. We are going to have a blast today. This is sort of the first off-season video that we can make going into 2020. What we're going to be doing is we will be ranking every single player at each position that is a free agent going into the next season. So we're going to go from DH all the way down to the best relief pitcher. And if you guys want to see a part 2 to this video where we predict or rank all these free agents, go ahead and leave a like on this, because if we can get 1,000 likes, I'll try and get that out tomorrow or maybe like the next day, because these videos, they're kind of hard to make. They take a long time and they have a lot of research behind them, but that's all besides the point. You don't care about that. You came here for the video. So without further ado, let's start talking baseball. So as you guys can see, I have my MLB Network reporter's hat on. I am ready to go. And the first position that we have to talk about is the designated hitter position. I thought that JD was going to opt out of his deal, but obviously just Dingers, JD Martinez, he will be opting in and staying with the Boston Red Sox. So I think the next best option, we have two of them. We have Edwin Encarnacion and Hunter Pence. I know that Hunter Pence kind of broke out last year, but in my opinion, I feel like Edwin Diaz, he's still the guy that we have to go with. Between the Seattle Mariners and the New York Yankees last year, Edwin Diaz had 34 home runs, 86 RBIs. Now, if we take a look at his counterpart, Hunter Pence, he actually did beat him in OPS. Pence had that 910 OPS, which anytime you have an OPS above 900, that's actually very impressive. But considering the fact that Edwin Encarnacion, he continues to mash baseballs, you see that pair anywhere from 30 to 40 times a year. So I think that he is perfect as a DH position. I think that he is going to get anywhere from 10 to 15, maybe $17 million. I don't think it's going to happen on the $17 million mark, but where do you guys think he's going to go? Do you think he's going to stay with the New York Yankees? Which AL team do you think he's going to go to? In my opinion, I think that he's going to stay with the Yankees. Moving on over to the catcher's position, as you guys can see, Yasmani Grandal is going to be my pick as the best 2020 free agent from that position. This guy bet on himself. He signed a 1-year contract with the Brewers after declining a 4-year contract from the Mets. So the fact that he told himself, I'm going to go ahead and rake in 2019, and that's exactly what he did. His stats were very impressive from a catcher. His average defense is going to be something that you will have to live with, but his calling card is that switch hitting offense. He had 28 home runs, 77 RBIs, and an 850 OPS. Again, these are numbers from a catcher. You do not find that on the corner every single day. You can't find that in the third round or maybe even sometimes the first round of the draft. So when you can find a switch hitting catcher with elite offense and pretty much average defense, you take that every single time. I think that he's going to get at least $20 million. And if you guys want me to predict where he's going to, let me know in the comment section down below. And again, we'll make part number 2. But so far, we have the DH for Edwin Encarnacion, the catcher as Yasmani Grandal. Now, we have to talk about the first baseman. Jose Abreu has been a RBI machine ever since he got his debut. Wasn't it back in 2014? So I can't believe that Jose Abreu has been in the league that long already. It seems like it's been longer than that. But again, like I said, this guy has been driving in 100+ runs pretty much every single season. The only time that he didn't was last year when he was kind of hampered by injuries, but he came back with a vengeance in 2019. He led the entire American League with 123 RBIs. He also smacked 33 home runs. So I truly think that Jose Abreu, I think that he's going to stay with the White Sox because they're building quietly a juggernaut. When they get Michael Kopech back, and now that they have Tim Anderson raking, they have Jose Abreu, Eloy Jimenez, all the other guys on their squad, including Yohan Moncada, who had a 300 batting average this year, right about 300 batting average. The White Sox, maybe in a year or two, if they can keep Jose Abreu, because he is the best first baseman in the market right now, look out for the White Sox. They could be quietly scary. So second base, I will be honest with you guys, it is a little bit weak going into the next season. I almost picked Eric Sogard, but because he's 33 years old, I couldn't really justify it. So we're going to go ahead and pick Jonathan Schoop from the Minnesota Twins. I'm wondering where he can go, because if we go back to 2015, Jonathan Schoop had 32 home runs and an 841 OPS. So you know that this guy's ceiling is actually pretty sky high. When you have a power hitting second baseman that can run a little bit and play a pretty solid defense, you have to take that flyer every single chance that you can get. Now, the one downside is he hasn't really repeated 2015, and in 2019 he had a 777 OPS. So anytime that you're below 800, you're kind of an average offensive player. So he went from elite at the second base position to not really being in the conversation as maybe a top 5, maybe even top 10 second baseman, not only in the American League, but in all of baseball. So yeah, he really dipped off. I'm hoping that he comes back. He's still under 30 years old, or he might have just turned 30 this this year. He had a good season-ish last year with 23 home runs and again that 777 OPS, but I feel like if he can sign with the Indians because we just let go of Jason Kipnis, I feel like that would be insane. I'm sure that most of you watching this right now have a pretty good idea who we will be picking for third base. It's not going to be Josh Donaldson, who just like Yasmani Grandal bet on himself, signed a one-year deal with the Braves and actually broke out, so he's going to get a ton of money. We're going with Anthony Rendon. As you guys can see by this tweet right here, I have been on the Rendon train for quite some time now. I've always thought that he was underrated, and finally in 2019 he made me look smart. He led all of baseball in RBIs. He also had a 319 batting average with a 10 OPS. I think that this guy is going to be insane for the foreseeable future. He also had 8 RBIs in the World Series, so he's shown that he can be clutch when it matters, although in the past couple postseasons he wasn't very clutch, but we're going to go ahead and not talk about that. Anthony Rendon is going to get anywhere from $200 to $250 million. He's probably going to get a $30 to $33 million a year contract, and in my opinion, I think that he deserves it. He's been pretty decent for the majority of his career, but again, he broke out last year. I think that all of the money that he is going to get, he's earned, and I think that we can all agree that Anthony Rendon is probably the best player on this entire list. The shortstop position is also a little bit weak as well, and it's kind of confusing because Yankees fans always praise Didi Gregorius, but then I've seen a lot of tweets on Twitter that they want to get rid of him and trade for Francisco Lindor or Gavin Lux or sign a new shortstop because he wasn't very good in the postseason, although he did have a grand slam. We're talking about Didi Gregorius from 2016 and 2018. He had 72 home runs and only struck out 221 times, so his plate vision is actually pretty good. His discipline is there. He can actually hit home runs as a shortstop. This was the first season in quite some time where his defense kind of slipped, but I'll be honest with you guys, I think the majority of that was caused by injuries, so look for Didi Gregorius to sign a pretty hefty contract. I think he's going to get anywhere from $15 to $20 million. So do you think that he's going to have a comeback 2020? In my opinion, I think that he does. I would love to see him re-sign with the Yankees. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section down below, where do you think Didi is going to go? Do you think he's going to stay in the American League, or do you think that he is going to jump ship and go to a NL team? I don't really know. I haven't really looked at the teams that need a shortstop right now, so maybe you guys can help me out with that. Now we are moving to the outfield. We're going to start off with left field. Marcell Ozuna has my favorite right-handed swing in all of baseball, and in my opinion, it's not even really close. Now, the one thing about Marcell Ozuna is he had 10 home runs and 28 RBIs in the first 27 games of 2019, and then he kind of dipped off, and then he exploded again. So Marcell Ozuna, if you sign him to a contract, you're going to have to deal with that roller coaster of a player because there's no one that gets hotter than Marcell Ozuna, and there's also no one that can get in a slump like Marcell Ozuna. One more thing about him is he has a rocket for an arm, but he also makes these plays in the outfield.
And a fly ball. Deep left. Ozuna back scales the wall, and it drops. Like his cleat.
Moving on over to center field. This was the position that I played back when I was actually playing baseball. It is my favorite thing to do, just tracking fly balls down and being the captain of the outfield. Brett Gardner. I know that he didn't play a ton of games in center field, but I'm going to go ahead and list him as the best center fielder because he quietly had a monster 2019. Now take the word monster as a grain of salt because I said monster in terms of Brett Gardner. This guy had 28 home runs and an 829 OPS, which are both career highs for Brett Gardner. He used to have elite speed, now it's kind of dwindled down to pretty average speed, but when you have Gardner hitting 28 home runs and playing some pretty good defense, I think that you can get him for anywhere from $10 to $15 million. That's a bargain in my opinion, and quietly, Brett Gardner is having a pretty solid career. He has a 41.6 career WAR, which if you think about it, that's a lot. And then last but not least for the position players, we have the right fielder Nicolas Castellanos, who just like Marcell Ozuna is not a very good defender, but man, when this guy gets hot, he is going to do some damage. He had 58 doubles last year, and if you guys don't know, there's only been 6 times in Major League Baseball history where one player had 60 doubles, so he almost got that. You know that this guy rakes. He also factored in 16 home runs and a 1,002 OPS in just 51 games for the Chicago Cubs, so he really lit the fire under them. I thought that they were going to make the playoff because Yu Darvish was pitching out of his mind and Nicolas Castellanos was doing his thing, but the unfortunate part is John Lester, Cole Hamels, Jose Quintana, they all kind of faltered down the stretch, and the Cubs, they missed the playoffs. So I think at this point, it's very evident the Cubs offense is going to do great, but they have to fix the rotation, so maybe they let him walk. In my opinion, I think he's perfect for that city. I think he does stay with the Cubs. You guys saw the intro clip. You you know that I am going to pick Gerrit Cole as my starting pitcher. This guy went 20-5. It's just incredible how good this guy was in 2019. He had a 2.5 ERA and an insane 13.8 strikeouts per nine. He was also lights out in the playoffs. I mean, aside from game number 1 of the World Series when he got lit up by Juan Soto and the rest of that crew, but I do think that he is going to get anywhere from $200 to $275 million. That's a big spectrum, I know that, but I don't think he's going to get 300. You guys might think I'm crazy for saying that. Now, there is a close second place because Steven Strasburg, say what you want about him, but this guy has a 3.17 career ERA, and he's been pitching for 6 or 7 years. And the first time that he did not have an innings restriction in the postseason, he wins World Series MVP. Yeah, Gerrit Cole did not do that. So I know that he was great this entire year, but Steven Strasburg, when he's on top of his game, I mean, this guy's a unit. He's huge. He has broad shoulders. His calves are the size of my body. He's not going to throw 100 every single pitch, but he's deceptive. He has some good off-speed pitches. Steven Strasburg, if he can throw 200 to 250 innings, this guy's going to be elite. And then last but not least, we have our relief pitchers. So Will Smith, he was offered a qualifying offer. So if you guys don't know what that means, it's pretty much a 1-year deal worth about $18 million. And I think that Will Smith is going to take that because Will Smith, he was not very good in the second half. We'll talk about that. But considering he is a free agent right now, he hasn't accepted it, I have to put him at my number 1 spot. Dylan Betances was going to be my number 1 relief pitcher, but he tore his Achilles walking off the mound. So unfortunately, he cannot take that top spot. But like I was saying about Will Smith, in the first half, he had a 1.98 ERA in 37 games. So he was incredible. I thought that he was going to get traded to someone like the Indians. We needed another left-handed pitcher, but unfortunately, it could not get done. But it was a tale of two halves. So 1.98 ERA in 37 games in the first half to a 3.72 ERA in 26 second half games. So 3.72, that is not the end of the world. I do think that Will Smith is pretty nasty. I think that he can get the job done both as a middle relief pitcher and a closer, so I think he's versatile. And guys, that is going to do. I know that we did leave off a few star players. Didn't even talk about Madison Bumgarner, Josh Donaldson, and a few other guys. Cole Calhoun, the Angels just declined his option, not saying that he's an all-star player or anything like that, but I think that Cole Calhoun, he can actually be a serviceable player considering the Angels have not been very good. But that's going to do it for today's video. Again, if you want me to talk about Josh Donaldson and Madison Bumgarner, we can rank them all. We can do that. We can make that happen. Let's get this video to 1,000 likes. Make sure that you guys use code Fuzzy on SeatGeek to save $20 off all sporting tickets and some concerts. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.